Imagine, for just a second, that you are sprinting across the open savanna.
Right, like a total life or death situation.
Exactly. And a saber-toothed tiger is hot on your heels, your heart is hammering against your ribs, your vision narrows to a pinpoint, and your entire biological operating system is just screaming at you to run for your absolute life.
That is a massive primal adrenaline dump.
It really is. But now I want you to hold on to that intense biological feeling and compare that sheer panic to, well, staring down a slice of leftover cheesecake in your refrigerator at midnight.
Oh man, the midnight cheesecake, it's the ultimate modern dilemma.
Yeah. Because in the current era, your brain is still fundamentally wired to survive the tiger. But let's be honest, for you, the cheesecake is the real everyday threat to your long-term well-being.
It's the perfect modern paradox, you know? You're bringing this prehistoric, deeply ingrained survival system to a modern dessert buffet, and then wondering why you struggle to make good choices.
And that is exactly why you are here with us for this deep dive. The mission today is to decode this incredibly elusive, often frustrating concept of self-control.
Because for far too long, society has treated a lack of willpower as, like, a character flaw or simply a matter of not having enough raw grit.
Which is just not true. We are going to completely dismantle that myth today. Instead, you're going to look under the hood at the actual biological and psychological mechanics of how you make choices.
And to do this, we are drawing heavily from Kelly McGonigal's book, The Willpower Instinct, alongside our broader research into behavioral economics and neurobiology.
You are listening to Deep Cuts and Deep Thinking.
So to truly understand how you can improve your willpower, the very first thing you have to do is stop moralizing it.
Right, taking the guilt out of the equation.
Exactly. Before you can change your behavior, you have to recognize that willpower is an evolved, trainable instinct. It has a very specific biological anatomy.
I mean, you already know the prefrontal cortex handles decision-making. We've talked about that before.
We have, yeah. But what Kelly McGonigal's research shows is that this real estate isn't just one monolithic block of control. It's actually split into 3 distinct powers.
Right, and understanding this split is crucial. First, you have your I willpower.
The activator.
Yeah, this is your ability to do something difficult but beneficial, even when you'd rather avoid it, like forcing yourself to go to the gym or tackling a complex project at work when you're just exhausted.
Then second, there's your I want power,
which is your inhibitory system, the brakes you apply to a bad habit, like stopping yourself from doom scrolling on social media for 2 hours.
Spot on. And finally, there's the I want power. This is the crucial ability to remember your deep, long-term goals and values when you are staring right in the face of immediate temptation.
So it's the anchor. And your brain is constantly engaged in this fierce, silent negotiation.
Always. You have these advanced cortical regions managing those 3 powers, and they are constantly trying to overrule your older, more impulsive subcortical drives that just want, immediate gratification, sugar, and comfort.
Okay, let's unpack this. Think of your prefrontal cortex as a highly stressed out corporate management team, desperately trying to control a massive warehouse full of unruly employees.
And those employees represent your primal urges, right?
Exactly. So in this scenario, your I want power is the visionary CEO. That CEO is constantly having to walk the factory floor, reminding everyone why they're doing this hard work in the first place and what the long-term vision is.
So the employees don't just walk off the job to go eat donuts in the break room.
Yes, exactly.
Well, what's fascinating here is that this management team, your brain's willpower, behaves very much like a physical muscle.
Wait, really? Like you can work it out?
Yeah, according to the author, it can be strengthened over time through deliberate practice. You can physically alter and train this neural circuit.
How does that actually look in practice, though?
So studies show you can strengthen your overall willpower by forcing yourself to use your non-dominant hand for daily tasks, like brushing your teeth or opening doors.
Oh, wow, that sounds frustrating.
It is. But because you are forcing a conscious pause to override an automatic, deeply ingrained physical habit, you are actively firing up those neural pathways. You are literally working out that prefrontal muscle.
So you're basically doing bicep curls for your brain. But if we follow that muscle metaphor to its logical conclusion, that means it also gets exhausted, right?
Precisely. Just like a physical muscle, your willpower can be temporarily depleted by overuse.
So if you spend all day making difficult decisions, suppressing your emotions, and resisting temptations,
by the evening, your prefrontal cortex is totally fatigued. But beyond just decision fatigue, your willpower is profoundly affected by your underlying physical condition.
Right.
If your physiological foundation is cracked, that management team you mentioned is basically asleep at their desks.
Which means willpower is fundamentally a biological function. The physical state of your body directly dictates your mind's capacity to resist temptation.
Yep. It's not mind over matter. It is literally a matter of body over mind.
That's a massive shift in perspective.
It is entirely physiological. The research draws a sharp contrast between 2 distinct states in your autonomic nervous system. You've heard of the fight or flight stress response.
Right, the saber-toothed tiger mode.
Exactly. That state is designed to handle immediate physical threats. But willpower relies on a completely different biological state called the pause and plan response.
Pause and plan. I like that.
Yeah, and when you are under chronic stress, your body diverts its limited energy resources away from the prefrontal cortex and sends it to your immediate survival systems. Stress literally starves the part of your brain responsible for long-term thinking.
So when you've had a terrible day at work and your boss is yelling at you, your brain structurally cannot access that visionary CEO. You literally lack the blood flow to that area.
You're running on fumes.
It makes total sense why the vending machine suddenly looks irresistible in that moment.
Yes, and you can actually measure this biological capacity in real time. Heart rate variability, or HRV, acts as a primary lead indicator of your willpower capacity.
HRV, right? So how does that connect to willpower?
Well, HRV measures the tiny fluctuations in time between your heartbeats. When your HRV is high, it means your parasympathetic nervous system, specifically the vagus nerve, is actively putting the brakes on your heart rate.
Meaning you are calm, but highly alert.
Exactly. And your prefrontal cortex is fully fueled and online. But when your HRV drops, your vagus nerve withdraws, you're locked in stress mode, and your subcortical impulses just hijack the system.
And nothing tanks your HRV quite like a lack of sleep.
Yeah.
The data from our sources is honestly shocking on this.
Oh, brutal.
Yeah, getting less than 6 hours of sleep essentially mimics the symptoms of ADHD in your brain.
Wait, ADHD, just from losing a couple hours of sleep?
Yeah. When you are sleep deprived, your brain desperately tries to wake itself up by seeking quick hits of stimulation. It downregulates your dopamine receptors, meaning your reward circuits become heavily impaired.
So you become incredibly vulnerable to cheap cravings just to feel a baseline level of alert.
Exactly. But the silver lining to all of this physiology is that small, immediate interventions can drastically shift your state back into the pause and plan mode.
Like what?
Well, for instance, the 5-minute green exercise rule. The data shows that just moving outdoors in a natural green environment for 5 minutes rapidly restores prefrontal blood flow and raises your HRV.
That's incredibly accessible, just 5 minutes outside.
Right. Alternatively, simply slowing your breathing down to 4 to 6 breaths per minute physically stimulates the vagus nerve. That has an immediate, measurable effect on shifting you out of the stress response.
Okay, but here's where it gets really interesting. If stress is the ultimate enemy of willpower and you need to be calm to stimulate that vagus nerve and make good choices,
Yeah.
how are you supposed to handle the sheer anxiety of trying to be strictly disciplined all the time? Doesn't the pressure to be perfect, to never eat the cheesecake, to constantly monitor your behavior just create more stress?
Which then destroys your HRV and your willpower.
That's a great point. It's a brilliant paradox, and it's a trap so many people fall into. But this is where you have to leverage the tend-and-befriend response.
Tend-and-Befriend. What does that mean in this context?
Our research shows that it's all about how you interpret the biological arousal of stress in your body. If you view a pounding heart and a tight chest solely as a panic state, as a sign that you are failing or in danger, your brain shuts down the prefrontal cortex.
Right, because it thinks you're being chased.
Exactly. But if you cognitively reframe that exact same physical stress as your body gearing up to help you meet a challenge you genuinely care about, it actually keeps the prefrontal cortex online. It's about utilizing the stress response, not just desperately trying to suppress it.
Oh, wow. So you acknowledge the pounding heart and say, okay, this means I care about this goal, and my body is dumping adrenaline to give me the energy to handle it.
Precisely. It changes the whole chemical cascade.
That is a massive paradigm shift. But let's say you've mastered that physiology. Your body is perfectly rested. You've had your 5 minutes of green exercise, you are breathing slowly, and you're reframing your stress.
You'd think you'd be an unstoppable willpower machine.
You would. But even then, even when your body is perfectly fueled, your brain plays these incredibly sophisticated cognitive tricks on you to justify bad behavior.
The human mind is an absolute masterclass in rationalization. And one of the most pervasive traps you will fall into is called moral licensing.
Oh man, this one hurts to look at because everyone does it.
Oh, completely.
Moral licensing is when you make some progress on a goal. Maybe you go to the gym and burn a few extra calories, or you drop a couple of pounds. Instantly, you feel virtuous.
You feel like a good person.
Right. And your brain takes that feeling of goodness and uses it as a literal license to be bad. You treat your own progress as permission to self-sabotage. You think, I worked out today, I earned this chocolate chip frozen yogurt.
Exactly. When you operate under moral licensing, you stop looking at your goals objectively. Instead, you start categorizing your choices in terms of moral polarity, good versus bad.
Like a bank account.
Yes. You treat willpower like a financial ledger. Once the ledger shows you've been good, you feel completely justified in making a decision that actively works against your long-term goals, simply to balance the books.
And that ties directly into another mathematical reality of our psychology, which behavioral economists call delay discounting, or hyperbolic discounting.
Which sounds complicated, but it's really not.
No, it's basically just a formula explaining that the subjective value of a reward plummets the further away it is in time.
The underlying math of delayed discounting reveals a lot about how your brain processes time. When a temptation is immediate, like a fresh cookie right in front of your face, its subjective value skyrockets in your brain's reward center.
It just takes over.
It easily overrides the objective value of a much larger but more distant reward. A small indulgence today mathematically feels far more valuable to your brain's dopamine system than avoiding a heart attack 20 years from now.
So what does this all mean? It means you fundamentally treat your future self like a total stranger.
Yes, you really do.
You operate under the delusion that future you is this superhero with boundless energy, a person who will happily wake up at 6 a.m. to exercise, organize the entire house, and enthusiastically eat a salad.
Meanwhile, present you gets to hit the snooze button and eat the cheesecake.
Exactly. You dump all the hard work and discipline onto a version of yourself that you don't emotionally connect with.
It's a profound empathy gap. Functional MRI scans actually show that when people think about their future selves, the brain regions associated with thinking about strangers light up.
That is wild.
Yeah.
Your brain literally sees future you as some random guy in the street.
You genuinely don't view that future person as you. But to bridge this gap, Kelly McGonigal recommends actively creating future memories. You have to make the future self emotionally vivid.
How do you do that?
Well, some platforms and financial institutions are even using age progression apps to show people realistic images of themselves at retirement age.
Oh, to force them to look at the reality.
Yeah, when you clearly visualize your future self, when you see the wrinkles and realize that person is still going to feel the consequences of today's actions, you stop kicking your responsibilities down the road. You save more money and you make better health choices.
But knowing all these cognitive tricks doesn't stop the actual physical feeling when you walk past a bakery or when your phone buzzes. What is happening in the brain in that visceral split-second moment?
Right, because the urge is still there.
Because no matter how much you visualize your future self, there is that moment where the urge is just screaming at you.
To understand the actual anatomy of a craving, you have to look at dopamine. Popular culture often mislabels dopamine as the happiness chemical.
Right, we hear that all the time.
But the reality is that dopamine is about the anticipation of reward, not the actual experience of joy. It creates a powerful biological feeling of wanting that you frequently mistake for liking.
So it's just a drive.
Exactly. When you see a cue like a notification on your phone or a bakery window, your brain releases a spike of dopamine. It promises happiness to drive you toward the action, but once you take the action, it rarely delivers actual lasting satisfaction.
And when you feel that intense wanting, your first instinct is usually just to forcefully push it out of your mind.
Which is the worst thing you can do.
It really is. It backfires spectacularly. There is this famous experiment from Trinity University involving a white bear.
Oh, I love this one.
The researchers told the participants, whatever you do for the next few minutes, do not think about a white bear. And predictably, they literally can't stop thinking about a white bear. Trying to forcefully suppress an urge just guarantees it will obsessively rebound in your mind.
Psychologists call this the ironic rebound effect, and the mechanism behind it is fascinating. To make sure you aren't thinking of a white bear, your brain essentially assigns a subconscious security guard to look for white bears in your mind to block them.
Right, which means it's actively looking for them.
Yes. By actively searching for the forbidden thought, the security guard keeps bringing it to the forefront of your attention. You are creating the very obsession you are trying to avoid.
It's so counterproductive.
And this dynamic leads directly to what Kelly McGonigal calls the what the hell effect.
Oh, I know this feeling.
Let's say you are forcefully suppressing a craving for sweets, but eventually your willpower muscle depletes and you slip up. You eat a single piece of cake.
And instantly, you feel a crushing sense of shame.
Exactly. You feel terrible about yourself. And how does the brain typically seek comfort from the emotional pain of shame? It turns back to the very addiction or habit that caused the shame in the first place.
You rationalize, I already blew my diet, so what the hell, I might as well eat the whole pan.
This raises an important question. If shame is the primary catalyst for the what the hell spiral, how should you actually respond to failure?
Most people would say you need to be harder on yourself.
According to the author and extensive research, self-compassion and self-forgiveness after a lapse are scientifically proven to result in better long-term adherence than guilt. When you forgive yourself, you short-circuit the shame spiral.
Wait, hold on. I have to push back here.
Okay, go for it.
If I forgive myself for skipping the gym today, aren't I just giving myself a free pass to be lazy again tomorrow? Where is the accountability in just letting yourself off the hook every time you fail?
It is absolutely crucial to clarify the difference here. The author is not advocating for toxic self-indulgence.
Which would look like what?
Toxic self-indulgence says, I've had a hard day, I deserve to skip the gym, it doesn't matter. True. Accountable self-compassion says, skipping the gym today feels bad because my health genuinely matters to me. I messed up, and that's frustrating, but I am human and setbacks happen. What specific structural step can I take tomorrow to get back on track?
Yeah, true self-compassion doesn't lower your standard. It simply removes the toxic shame that drives the what the hell spiral. It keeps you engaged with your long-term values instead of abandoning the goal entirely just to seek emotional relief.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. You're holding yourself accountable without attacking your core identity. Which brings us beautifully from the internal theory to practical, real-world application.
How do you actually put this into practice?
Right. How do you architect your success? You need to explore how to design your environments and leverage your social circles so you aren't constantly relying on raw, white-knuckle grit.
One of the most effective immediate tools from the book is the 10-minute delay rule.
Just 10 minutes.
Just 10 minutes. Whenever a severe temptation strikes, you force a mandatory 10-minute wait. You don't tell yourself no, because as we saw with the white bear, no triggers the ironic rebound. You just tell yourself, wait.
So you're not denying it, you're just delaying it. This brief 10-minute delay fundamentally alters the math of hyperbolic discounting. It allows the immediate dopamine spike to cool off and gives the prefrontal cortex the time it needs to pull power back from the subcortical drives and overrule the urge.
And during those 10 minutes, you can use a mindfulness protocol known as surfing the urge.
Surfing the urge, yeah.
Instead of trying to aggressively fight the feeling, you just sit with the physical sensation of the craving. You notice your heart beating faster, you feel the tension in your jaw, and you ride that physical sensation like an ocean wave as it crests and falls.
You don't fight the wave and you don't give into it, you just observe it until it naturally dissipates.
It's an elegant way to detach from the impulse. Another powerful linguistic tool involves how you frame your boundaries. The difference between saying I don't versus I can't.
Oh, this is huge.
Yeah, if you say I can't eat after dinner, it frames the rule as an external restriction. It's a deprivation that invites your inner rebel to fight back. But if you reframe it as a statement of identity, I don't eat after dinner, or I don't check emails before 9 a.m., it signals self-authorship.
You aren't being restricted by an outside force. You are simply acting in accordance with who you are.
I don't is a boundary you own. I can't is a prison you want to break out of. And speaking of the environment, you have to factor in the people around you.
Social contagion is a massive element of willpower. Willpower and temptation are both highly contagious.
It's like catching a cold.
Exactly. You literally catch goals and habits from the people you surround yourself with, largely due to the mirror neurons in your brain that unconsciously simulate the actions of others. If your social circle is constantly giving in to impulses, the friction for you to join them is almost non-existent.
Because everyone else is doing it.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, Kelly McGonigal's framework perfectly complements other major behavioral systems.
Oh, like what?
Think about David Allen's Getting Things Done system, which is all about externalizing your memory so you don't exhaust your prefrontal cortex trying to remember tasks. Or James Clear's Habit Design framework, which focuses on automating your environment so that good choices require zero friction.
So you're building a system.
Yes. By integrating these tools, you vigorously protect your brain's limited energy budget. You design a life where you only have to rely on conscious willpower when it's truly a critical moment.
And pre-commitment tools are a brilliant part of that environmental design. These are strategies where your planner self binds the hands of your short-sighted doer self before the temptation even arrives.
Like locking yourself out of an app.
Exactly. Like physically locking a credit card in a time delay safe, or using an app that charges you a fine of $10 paid to an anti-charity, an organization you actively dislike if you fail to meet your goal. You change the immediate environment so that the bad choice is either physically impossible or instantly painful.
Which leaves you with a final, rather provocative thought to ponder.
Laid it on us.
Throughout this deep dive, you've seen that self-control strongly correlates with better health, financial stability, and achievement. But you have to ask the lingering question. Is extreme control the ultimate goal of life?
It's a profound question. Do you really want your life to be an endless, exhausting project of perfectly resisting every single temptation?
I think the evidence suggests otherwise. In the world we're living in now, willpower is merely a tool. It is a means to an end. It is meant to help you enact your deepest values, to build meaningful connections, and to create a life you actually want to live, not to turn you into a joyless robot engaged in lifelong self-policing.
Exactly. It's about remembering your I want power. You don't want to conquer the cheesecake just to prove you are morally superior. You want to survive the saber-toothed tiger so you can actually enjoy the life you're saving.
Well said.
If you found this podcast interesting, please like and subscribe. Thank you for joining us today.